May 3rd, 2007. It was supposed to be another peaceful spring evening in a small seaside resort town in southern Portugal. Families were finishing dinner. Children were asleep after long days spent playing on the beach. Holidaymakers relaxed under warm Mediterranean skies, believing they had left the stresses of everyday life behind. But before the night was over, a 3-year-old British girl would disappear without a trace. Her name was Madeleine McCann. More than 17 years later, investigators across multiple countries are still searching for answers. What happened inside apartment 5A in Praia da Luz? Was Madeleine abducted? Did someone familiar with the area take advantage of a brief moment of opportunity? Could crucial evidence have been missed during the first hours of the investigation? The disappearance of Madeleine McCann became one of the most widely reported missing person cases in modern history. It sparked an international search, involved police agencies from several countries, generated thousands of reported sightings, and led to years of public debate. Yet despite one of the largest investigations ever conducted into a missing child, many questions remain unanswered. This is the story of Madeleine McCann. Madeleine Beth McCann was born on May 12, 2003 in England. She was the eldest child of Kate and Jerry McCann, both medical doctors. Friends and relatives describe Madeleine as bright, energetic, and affectionate. She enjoyed drawing, playing with friends, and spending time with her younger twin siblings. By the spring of 2007, the McCann family planned what they hoped would be a relaxing holiday. They chose Praia da Luz, a popular resort town on Portugal's Algarve coast. Known for its sandy beaches, pleasant weather, and family-friendly atmosphere, the town attracted thousands of visitors every year. The McCanns traveled with a group of close friends. Together, the families had several young children and planned to spend the week enjoying the beach, swimming pools, and local restaurants. Nothing about the trip suggested it would become one of the most closely watched criminal investigations in the world. Praia da Luz was often described as a quiet holiday destination. Unlike larger tourist cities, it had a relaxed atmosphere. Visitors wandered narrow streets lined with cafes and restaurants. Families strolled along the beachfront promenade. Many apartment complexes catered specifically to parents traveling with young children. The McCann family stayed at the Ocean Club Resort. Their apartment, known as Apartment 5A, was located on the ground floor of a block overlooking a street. It was only a short walk from the resort's swimming pools and recreational facilities. The apartment also sat within walking distance of the resort's tapas restaurant, where the adults in the holiday group planned to eat dinner most evenings. That arrangement seemed convenient. After putting the children to bed, the adults could dine nearby while checking on them at regular intervals. At the time, the group believed this routine was a reasonable compromise between enjoying an evening meal and remaining close to their sleeping children. It was a decision that would later receive intense public scrutiny. During the first days of the holiday, life followed a comfortable pattern. The children attended activities organized by the resort. Parents spent time at the swimming pool. Evenings often ended with dinner at the tapas restaurant. The restaurant was approximately 50 to 60 meters from Apartment 5A, though it was not in direct line of sight because of walls, gates, and the layout of the resort. Rather than using a formal babysitting service, the adults agreed to check on the children every so often throughout the evening. According to later statements, these checks generally occurred at intervals of around 20 to 30 minutes. The arrangement had worked without incident during previous nights. No one imagined that a brief gap between checks could change everything. Thursday, May 3rd, 2007. Thursday began like any other holiday. Madeleine attended children's activities at the resort. The family spent time swimming and relaxing. Photographs taken that day show Madeleine smiling beside the resort pool. One of these images, often called the last photo, would become one of the most recognized photographs in the world. As evening approached, the family returned to their apartment. The children were bathed and prepared for bed. Around 8:30 p.m., Kate and Jerry joined the rest of their holiday group at the tapas restaurant. Before leaving, Madeleine and her younger siblings were asleep. The apartment doors were left in the condition later described by investigators and witnesses, though aspects of those details became subjects of discussion during the investigation. What is not disputed is that the adults intended to continue making regular checks throughout the evening. The group enjoyed what seemed to be an ordinary dinner. Conversation moved between work, family life, and holiday plans. From time to time, members of the group left the table individually to check on their children. These visits typically lasted only a few minutes before they returned to the restaurant. According to witness statements gathered later, Jerry McCann checked on the apartment at approximately 9:05 p.m. He reported seeing the children asleep and noticing nothing unusual. Around the same time, another holidaymaker later stated that he had seen a man carrying a small child away from the direction of the apartments. This observation would become one of the most discussed witness accounts in the investigation, though identifying the man proved difficult. At the time, however, nothing appeared out of the ordinary to the families enjoying dinner. The evening continued. No one at the table realized that events were about to take a devastating turn. At approximately 10 p.m., Kate McCann left the restaurant to perform another routine check. As she entered apartment 5A, she immediately sensed that something was wrong. The bedroom door was more open than she expected. One of the windows was also reported to be open. She looked toward Madeleine's bed. It was empty. At first, she searched the apartment, believing Madeleine might have wandered into another room. She checked closets, bathrooms, under the beds. Nothing. Madeleine was gone. Moments later, Kate ran back toward the restaurant, shouting words that would soon be repeated around the world. "Madeleine's gone!" The dinner ended instantly. Parents rushed toward the apartment. Friends began searching nearby streets and gardens. Staff at the resort were alerted. Within minutes, what had begun as an ordinary family holiday transformed into a desperate search for a missing child. The initial response came from those closest to the family. Holidaymakers searched footpaths. Resort employees checked swimming pools and buildings. Residents joined the effort. People called Madeleine's name into the darkness. Some searched the nearby beach. Others examined vacant properties. Everyone hoped she had simply wandered away. As the search expanded, local police were contacted. Officers soon arrived and began gathering information. But in any missing child investigation, the first hours are often the most critical. Every minute matters. Every observation matters. Every witness matters. Investigators would later examine those first moments in extraordinary detail, asking whether anything had been overlooked. By midnight, the atmosphere in Praia da Luz had completely changed. Emergency responders, police officers, search teams, volunteers, all moved through the quiet resort in search of a little girl wearing pink pajamas. Parents staying nearby hugged their own children a little tighter. Rumors began circulating almost immediately. Had Madeleine wandered away? Had someone entered the apartment? Had anyone seen a suspicious person? No one knew. But everyone understood one thing: time was slipping away. As dawn approached, the search continued without success. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann was no longer a family emergency. It had become an official missing person investigation. Within days, it would capture headlines around the globe. In any missing child investigation, investigators often view the first 24 to 48 hours as especially critical. Every minute can bring new information or allow valuable clues to disappear. As news of Madeleine McCann's disappearance spread through the Ocean Club Resort, local police officers, resort staff, and volunteers searched the surrounding area. Flashlights swept across gardens and pathways. People checked nearby buildings. Others searched the beach, believing Madeleine might have wandered away in the dark. Police began asking immediate questions. What was Madeleine wearing? When had she last been seen? Who had entered or left the area during the evening? The answers would become the foundation of the investigation. The investigation was led by Portugal's Polícia Judiciária, PJ, the country's criminal investigation agency. Officers arrived at the Ocean Club Resort and began documenting the apartment and speaking with witnesses. The apartment became the center of the investigation. Investigators examined doors, windows, and the surrounding area, looking for anything unusual. They also began recording the timeline of the evening. Who checked on the children? At what times? Who else was nearby? Although many details were collected quickly, later reviews of the investigation questioned whether some early procedures could have been handled differently. Those criticisms would become a major topic in the years that followed. By sunrise on May 4th, the search had expanded beyond the resort. Police searched nearby roads, open fields, construction sites, vacant buildings. Officers questioned local residents and employees. Roadblocks were established in some areas, as investigators tried to determine whether anyone had left the region during the night. Search dogs were also used to assist in locating any possible trace of Madeleine. Helicopters later joined the search. Despite these efforts, there was no confirmed sign of the missing 3-year-old. Every hour that passed increased concern. As investigators appealed for information, witnesses began contacting police. Some believed they had seen unfamiliar people near the Ocean Club during the days leading up to the disappearance. Others reported seeing individuals going door to door claiming to collect money for charity. Police worked to determine whether any of these reports were connected to Madeleine's disappearance or simply unrelated events. One witness account quickly attracted particular attention. A British holidaymaker reported seeing a man carrying a young child through the streets around the time Madeleine disappeared. According to his statement, the child appeared to be asleep. At first, investigators could not identify either the man or the child. Years later, this sighting would become one of the most closely examined pieces of witness evidence in the case. Even so, it did not provide a definitive answer about what had happened. As the search continued, Kate and Jerry McCann faced every parent's worst nightmare. They made public appeals asking for help in finding their daughter. In interviews, they urged anyone with information, no matter how small, to contact the authorities. Photographs of Madeleine were released to the media. One image quickly became iconic, a close-up photograph showing her distinctive right eye, which had a rare marking in the iris known as a coloboma. Investigators hoped this unique feature would help people recognize her. The image soon appeared on television screens, newspaper front pages, and websites around the world. Within days, the disappearance had become international news. Television networks interrupted regular programming. Newspapers across Europe, North America, Australia, and beyond carried front-page stories. The case resonated with millions of parents. A family holiday, a sleeping child, a disappearance that seemed almost impossible to comprehend. Journalists traveled to Praia da Luz in large numbers. Satellite trucks lined the streets. Reporters broadcast live from outside the Ocean Club resort. As media attention intensified, the investigation entered a new phase. Every development was now being watched by the world. Authorities expanded the search beyond Portugal. Airports were alerted. Border agencies received Madeleine's description. Police forces in other countries shared information. Organizations specializing in missing children joined the effort. Posters appeared in airports, train stations, shopping centers, and public buildings. Volunteers distributed thousands of leaflets. Websites displayed Madeleine's photograph. The search became one of the largest international missing child campaigns ever undertaken. Despite this unprecedented publicity, no confirmed sightings led investigators to her. As media coverage increased, so did the number of reported sightings. Calls came from across Europe. Some claimed to have seen Madeleine in Portugal. Others reported possible sightings in Spain, Morocco, Belgium, the Netherlands, and even farther away. Investigators examined each report carefully. Many were quickly ruled out. Some involved children who resembled Madeleine. Others were based on misunderstandings or mistaken identity. Every lead required time and resources. Police had to separate genuine possibilities from false alarms. It was painstaking work. Yet investigators knew that dismissing a real clue too quickly could have devastating consequences. As the investigation continued, British authorities began providing assistance to their Portuguese counterparts. Officers from the United Kingdom traveled to Portugal to support the inquiry, share expertise, and help coordinate information. Because the case involved a British child who disappeared overseas, cooperation between the two countries became essential. Over time, that cooperation expanded. Specialists reviewed witness statements, analyzed timelines, and assisted in evaluating new information. Although different investigative approaches sometimes led to public discussion, both countries continued working toward the same goal: discovering what had happened to Madeleine. By the end of the first week, investigators had developed numerous theories, but few confirmed answers. Did Madeleine leave the apartment on her own? Was she taken by someone who had been watching the family's routine? Did an opportunistic offender happen to notice that the children were alone? At that stage, investigators had not reached definitive conclusions. The uncertainty frustrated both the family and the public. As each day passed without a breakthrough, speculation grew. Television programs debated possible scenarios. Newspapers published competing theories. Online discussions spread rapidly. Yet investigators repeatedly reminded the public that speculation should not be mistaken for evidence. The facts remained limited. Despite the lack of confirmed leads, the search did not stop. Volunteers continued distributing posters. Police followed new tips. Search teams revisited locations already examined. The McCann family remained determined to keep Madeleine's story in the public eye. For them, every new lead represented hope. Every reported sighting offered a possibility. Every public appeal was another chance that someone, somewhere, might come forward with the information investigators needed. The world watched and waited. But the investigation was about to become even more complicated. As detectives looked more closely at the evidence and the events of May 3rd, new questions emerged. Questions that would shape the next phase of one of the most closely scrutinized investigations in modern history. By the summer of 2007, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann had become one of the most closely followed criminal investigations in the world. Every day brought new headlines. Television crews remained in Praia da Luz. Journalists interviewed local residents, investigators, legal experts, and anyone who might provide new information. The sheer level of media attention created both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, Madeleine's face was now recognized across the globe, increasing the chances that someone might identify her or provide a useful lead. On the other hand, the constant flow of rumors, anonymous tips, and speculation made the investigation far more difficult. Police had to separate genuine evidence from misinformation. Investigators received thousands of calls, emails, and witness reports. Some people believed they had seen Madeleine in Portugal. Others reported possible sightings in Spain, Morocco, Belgium, Malta, and other countries. Each report had to be assessed carefully. Detectives compared photographs, interviewed witnesses, and reviewed travel records where appropriate. Many reports turned out to involve children who resembled Madeleine. Others were based on misunderstandings. While none of these early sightings led to Madeleine, investigators continued to examine every credible lead. One of the most important tasks facing investigators was reconstructing exactly what happened on the evening of May 3rd. Detectives interviewed members of the McCann family's holiday group multiple times. They compared accounts of who checked on the children, when those checks took place, and who had been seen around the Ocean Club. Small differences appeared in some recollections. Investigators attempted to determine whether these differences reflected ordinary memory errors or whether they pointed to something more significant. Such discrepancies are common in major investigations, particularly when witnesses are trying to recall stressful events. Police continued refining the timeline as additional information became available. As the investigation progressed, Portuguese authorities formally designated certain individuals as arguidos. Outside Portugal, this legal term was often misunderstood. Under Portuguese law at the time, an arguido was a person with specific legal rights during an investigation. It did not mean that the individual had been charged with a crime or found guilty. The designation attracted enormous media attention. Many news reports created confusion about what it actually meant. Ultimately, no charges were brought against the McCanns in Portugal, and their arguido status was later lifted. Investigators also examined forensic evidence collected from the apartment and related locations. Specialists analyzed fingerprints, fibers, biological samples, and other materials. Some forensic findings generated significant public discussion. However, experts cautioned that interpreting such evidence required great care. Over time, differing opinions emerged regarding what certain forensic results could or could not demonstrate. Because of these uncertainties, the available forensic evidence did not establish a clear explanation for Madeleine's disappearance. As the years passed, investigators continued to review the evidence using improved scientific techniques. While police continued their work, Kate and Jerry McCann launched an international campaign to keep Madeleine's case in the public eye. They gave interviews, they appealed directly to the public. Supporters organized awareness campaigns in multiple countries. Posters bearing Madeleine's photograph appeared in airports, train stations, churches, schools, and public buildings. Public figures also expressed support, helping ensure that the search remained visible long after many missing person cases would have faded from the headlines. For the McCann family, keeping Madeleine's image before the public was essential. They believed that someone, somewhere, might still hold the key to solving the mystery. As interest in the case grew, so did speculation. Books, television programs, internet forums, and newspaper articles proposed numerous theories. Some suggested an abduction, others proposed alternative explanations. Many of these ideas were based on incomplete information or assumptions rather than verified evidence. Investigators repeatedly emphasized that speculation could distract from genuine investigative work. For historians and journalists looking back at the case today, distinguishing documented facts from rumor remains one of the greatest challenges. Months after Madeleine disappeared, the search had not ended. Police agencies in different countries continued exchanging information. New witnesses occasionally came forward. Potential sightings were investigated. Advances in technology offered fresh opportunities to review evidence and organize case files. Although no definitive breakthrough had yet occurred, investigators remained committed to following new leads wherever they pointed. For the McCann family, hope remained alive, and for investigators, one question still stood above all others. What happened to Madeleine McCann? As months turned into years, many missing person investigations would have slowed dramatically. The Madeleine McCann case did not. Although media attention eventually became less intense, investigators in Portugal and the United Kingdom continued reviewing evidence. Thousands of documents remained under examination. Witness statements were revisited. New forensic techniques became available. Advances in digital technology allowed investigators to organize and compare information in ways that had not been possible in 2007. The central question remained unchanged: what happened to Madeleine? In 2011, the Metropolitan Police Service in London launched a new investigation known as Operation Grange. Rather than assuming earlier conclusions were correct, detectives began reviewing the case from the beginning. Their goal was to identify overlooked evidence, reassess witness statements, and generate fresh investigative leads. Officers examined thousands of pages of documentation from both British and Portuguese authorities. They also contacted witnesses again, hoping that the passage of time might encourage someone to remember a forgotten detail or come forward with new information. The review gradually evolved into a full criminal investigation. As Operation Grange progressed, investigators issued new public appeals. Television programs reconstructed the events of May 3, 2007. Updated timelines were released. Police asked anyone who had been in Praia da Luz during that period to contact investigators, even if they believed their information was insignificant. Detectives emphasized that seemingly minor details can become important when combined with other evidence. Several new witnesses came forward. Some remembered unfamiliar vehicles. Others recalled suspicious behavior. Every credible report was documented and investigated. Over the following years, authorities carried out additional searches in and around Praia da Luz. Search teams examined areas that had either not been thoroughly explored before or were being reviewed because of new information. Ground-penetrating radar, excavation equipment, and specialist search teams were used in some operations. These searches attracted significant media attention. Reporters gathered outside search areas, hoping for a breakthrough. Although investigators recovered various items during different searches, authorities did not announce any discovery that conclusively explained Madeleine's disappearance. The investigation continued. In 2020, German prosecutors publicly announced that they were investigating a German national, Christian Bruckner, in connection with Madeleine McCann's disappearance. Bruckner had lived in Portugal at various times and had spent time in the Algarve region around the period when Madeleine disappeared. Investigators stated that they believed Madeleine was dead and described Bruckner as a suspect in their investigation. The announcement marked one of the most significant developments in the case in many years. It immediately drew worldwide attention. However, prosecutors also acknowledged that their investigation was ongoing. Importantly, Bruckner has denied involvement in Madeleine McCann's disappearance, and he has not been convicted of any offense relating to her case. German investigators reported that they had gathered information from multiple sources while examining Bruckner's activities. Publicly released details included information about his presence in the Algarve during the relevant period and telecommunications data examined as part of the investigation. Authorities also appealed for additional witnesses who might have encountered him in Portugal. Much of the evidence discussed by investigators has not been fully disclosed to the public because the investigation remains active. For that reason, many important details remain confidential. Investigators have consistently asked the public not to confuse investigative suspicion with proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The case now involved close cooperation among authorities in Portugal, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Investigators exchanged information, reviewed evidence together, and coordinated investigative efforts. This level of international cooperation reflected both the complexity of the case and its continued importance. Each country brought different expertise. Forensic specialists examined evidence, detectives compared timelines, analysts reviewed historical records and communications. Even after many years, investigators continued searching for answers. Cold cases become increasingly difficult with time. Witnesses move away, memories fade, documents may be lost or become harder to locate. Physical evidence can deteriorate. Investigators must determine which information remains reliable and which details may have changed through repeated retelling. Despite these challenges, modern investigative techniques have solved many decades-old cases around the world. That possibility continues to give investigators hope. Throughout the years, Kate and Jerry McCann have continued to mark Madeleine's birthday and the anniversary of her disappearance. They have repeatedly thanked investigators and members of the public who continue to support the search. In public statements, they have emphasized that they remain committed to finding answers. For them, the investigation is not simply a famous criminal case, it is about their daughter. Their hope has always been that the truth, whatever it may be, will one day be established through credible evidence. Unlike many historical mysteries, the Madeleine McCann case has not been officially closed. Authorities have continued to receive information from the public. New searches have occasionally been conducted when investigators believed fresh intelligence justified them. Because the investigation remains active, officials have been careful about what information they release publicly. This means that not every aspect of the inquiry is known outside law enforcement. For viewers following the case, it is important to distinguish between confirmed statements made by investigators and speculation circulating online. More than a decade after Madeleine disappeared, investigators were still pursuing leads. The world had changed dramatically since 2007. Technology had advanced, communication had evolved, yet one mystery remained. What happened to Madeleine McCann? The answer had still not been established in a court of law, and that uncertainty continued to affect everyone connected to the case. More than 17 years have passed since the evening of May 3, 2007. The apartment at the Ocean Club is quiet. The crowds of journalists are gone. The television cameras that once broadcast live from Praia da Luz have long since moved on. But for one family, time did not stop the search. For investigators in several countries, the case also remained open. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann is no longer simply a headline from 2007. It has become one of the longest-running and most widely recognized missing child investigations in modern history. And despite years of work, one heartbreaking fact remains unchanged. Madeleine has never been found. One lasting legacy of the case has been increased international cooperation between police agencies. The investigation has involved authorities from Portugal, the United Kingdom, and Germany. Detectives have exchanged information, reviewed evidence together, and coordinated investigative efforts across national borders. Modern criminal investigations often depend on this kind of cooperation. Travel records, mobile phone data, financial transactions, and forensic evidence may involve several countries. The Madeleine McCann investigation highlighted how essential international partnerships can be when a case crosses borders. The disappearance also changed how many families think about child safety while traveling. Parents became more aware of the importance of supervision, secure accommodations, and emergency planning. Hotels and holiday resorts in many places reviewed their childcare services and security procedures. Organizations dedicated to finding missing children continued using Madeleine's case to raise awareness about child protection and the importance of reporting suspicious activity promptly. Although every family and every situation is different, the case encouraged many people to have conversations they might not otherwise have had. Few modern investigations have generated as much speculation as the Madeleine McCann case. Over the years, countless theories have circulated online, in books, on television, and across social media. Some claim to know exactly what happened. Others accused individuals without evidence. Many stories spread rapidly despite lacking credible sources. Investigators have repeatedly warned that misinformation can damage an active investigation. False claims may discourage genuine witnesses from coming forward, unfairly harm innocent people, or divert attention from credible leads. For that reason, historians and journalists continue to emphasize the importance of relying on verified information rather than rumors. After years of investigation, several facts are widely accepted. Madeleine McCann disappeared from apartment 5A at the Ocean Club Resort in Praia da Luz on the evening of May 3, 2007. A large-scale search began immediately. Authorities in multiple countries became involved. The case attracted unprecedented international media attention. Investigators have pursued numerous leads over the years. German authorities have publicly identified Christian Bruckner as a suspect in their investigation. However, he denies any involvement in Madeleine McCann's disappearance and has not been convicted of any offense related to her case. Beyond these facts, many crucial questions remain unanswered. Even after years of investigation, several key questions have not been conclusively answered. What exactly happened inside or near apartment 5A that evening? If Madeleine was abducted, who was responsible? If someone witnessed something important, have they yet realized its significance? Is there evidence that has not yet been made public because the investigation is still active? Could future forensic advances reveal information that current methods cannot? These unanswered questions explain why the investigation continues. Throughout the years, Kate and Jerry McCann have continued to issue public messages on birthdays and anniversaries. They have thanked investigators, volunteers, and members of the public who continue to support the search. Their statements consistently focus on hope, remembrance, and the desire to learn the truth. For families of missing persons, uncertainty can be one of the most difficult burdens to carry. Without clear answers, every possibility remains emotionally significant. The McCann family has often expressed gratitude to those who continue searching for information, while also asking the public to respect the ongoing investigation. Some criminal cases are remembered because of dramatic courtroom trials, others because of remarkable forensic breakthroughs. The Madeleine McCann case is remembered because it remains unresolved. A child disappeared during what should have been an ordinary family holiday. Despite years of investigation, international cooperation, and worldwide publicity, no court has determined exactly what happened. That uncertainty continues to capture public attention. But behind every documentary, newspaper article, and discussion is something more important than the mystery itself: a missing child, a family still seeking answers. Imagine Praia da Luz today. The beaches are once again filled with holidaymakers. Restaurants welcome visitors. Children laugh by the sea. To most people, it appears to be the peaceful coastal town it has always been. Yet for many, the name Praia da Luz will forever be linked to one unanswered question. Somewhere within the events of May 3, 2007, lies the truth. Whether that truth is eventually uncovered through new evidence, a witness coming forward, or future investigative advances remains unknown. Until then, Madeleine McCann's disappearance remains one of the world's most significant, unresolved missing person cases. More than 17 years have passed since Madeleine McCann disappeared. Investigators continue to examine new information whenever credible leads emerge. The hope of finding definitive answers has never completely disappeared. If there is one lesson this case leaves us with, it is the importance of facts over speculation, compassion over sensationalism, and remembering that behind every famous case is a real person and a real family. Thank you for watching this documentary. If you found it informative and respectful, consider subscribing for more carefully researched true crime and historical documentaries. And as always, if you have information relevant to an active investigation, the appropriate law enforcement authorities are the right place to report it.